Thanks to Colonial Brewing Co. for sponsoring the pod today.
Thank you, Colonial.
For those of you who may not know,
It's pros and cons time. Mr. Smith?
Hey, who's that? David Zakopakis.
Wrong.
How the bloody hell do you say that?
Zaharakis!
Pros and cons.
What is going on, everybody?
Welcome, Daniel. Episode 3 of the podcast.
Welcome, mate. How you doing?
Pros and the cons.
Pros and the Cons is here.
Yes, we're back for another episode. It's been awesome so far, mate. 2 episodes down.
I'm loving it.
Yeah, loving it.
People are enjoying it. We've had some great little reviews and ratings and stuff. And,
Yes.
And if you haven't listened to the first 2 episodes, I recommend going back and doing that. Don't start at episode 3. Get rolling right into it. It's been a fun little ride so far. Tell you what, mate. In the coming weeks,
Yes.
I don't want to give too much away.
You haven't given away
much
to me at all.
No, I haven't even told anything to you.
No, you
even
haven't.
so.
Great
but-
co-hosting here.
Yes, I know. But I want to keep you on your toes as
you're
well
right,
as the
you're
listeners. But we've got some huge guests coming in. Like I'm surprised
Very
that I've
excited
pulled
for
this off.
Yep.
So
I'm surprised too, mate.
Yeah.
You've got the gift of the gab, I reckon.
Thanks,
with
mate.
Hiring people and getting people on board. So
trying my best. It's the only thing I'm able to do here for us at the moment. So
enough of pumping up our own tires here.
yeah, I know.
That's
Well,
it, yeah.
listen in is my vibe here. Listen in for the coming weeks.
Yep.
But for today,
Who's on today, mate?
we've got a good mate of both of ours is on today.
Yep.
Brandon Rave.
Ravi. He likes Ravi, I think.
Likes Ravi, I think,
Yeah.
as well. Yeah.
We'll settle that soon.
Yeah, we might ask him what he wants to be called. So he is a great mate of both of ours.
Yep.
But he is also a former Asian Tour professional golfer.
It's very hard business to make, the golf
Crazy,
business.
right? Yeah. He's the Victorian Institute of Sport scholarship holder, and he's a PGA professional coach accredited.
Out at Heritage, I think, I believe.
I think so,
I think
yeah.
He'll probably tell us more, but I think it's out that way and coaching a lot of young kids. But I'm very excited for this because everyone's a keen golfer. There's a lot of amateur backyard golfers around Victoria and Australia. So
Gonna try to get some tips off him, mate, because
Yes,
I tell
as
you
you
what,
are.
I'm a bit of a struggling golfer myself, and I'm a fair weather golfer, that's for sure. I haven't played in it since it's got a bit cold, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna need some tips. I think
winter's not the time to play, but he has to stand out there and give lessons. So
Yeah, that's
we'll
true.
get into that soon. But first, Daniel, we've got a new segment this week.
Brand new segment.
Brand new
Let's
segment.
get into it.
Get
Do
into
you
it.
ever weigh out the pros and cons before you decide?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be
weigh the good with the bad. It's time for pros and cons.
It's pros and cons time.
All right, my pro for this week, one each. We've got one pro, one con.
Yep. Looking forward to keeping it simple here. Just one
Real
pro,
simple.
one con.
Yes.
Awesome.
My pro for the week, mate, is UFC 239 on the weekend. The fastest knockout in UFC history happened on the weekend. What's wrong, mate?
This annoys me, mate. And
Why?
You know why? It's because you look at it as a pro, and I actually had it as a con.
You had it as a con.
I had it as a con.
Record breaking.
Yes,
History made.
I had it as a con.
Why?
How much money do people pay to go to these events?
Okay.
Just asking.
Yeah.
I'm just
you
asking,
genuinely
mate.
want to know?
Well, how much do you reckon?
Well,
couple of thousand?
I've been to 2 cards here that
Yeah.
happened in Melbourne. I went to the last one that was here a
High
couple
hundreds?
of months ago. I reckon I paid it. Yeah.
Couple of thousand?
No, I
mate?
don't know about that much, but yes, yeah, we were. I think myself and our good mate Brenton
Yeah.
went together, and we were real close to the front. But I reckon we paid a good amount of money,
So
and they
quite-
get super expensive. And a place here in Melbourne, like when you're going here in Melbourne, there's a lot of people can go because we've got big stadiums.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and this is the reason why it's my con.
And it's
because-
$79 to watch it.
Exactly, yep. So if you got pay-per-view at home. So I understand that there's 6, 7, 8 fights some nights or whatever. So you're going to be there to watch all of them. But the reason why you go and the reason why you pay pay-per-view is pretty much for one fight. Might be 2, might be 3 if you're lucky, but it's pretty much one fight. And it's over in 5 seconds. So,
Yeah.
mate, like you go. Hang on, you go. Because I'm going hard here.
You are going hard.
You go to an NFL game, you go to an AFL game, you go to a soccer game, you know it's the allotted time, right? So you're paying your money for that whole thing. Your entertainment might not be as high, but you're getting the whole package. This fight lasted for 5 seconds.
Yes.
How do you justify people paying that money for that amount of time?
I would agree with you because this has happened in other cards, especially for the main fight. I would agree with you in most occasions, except for this card in particular, was stacked. So the other fights all around it, we had finishes and submissions, and really good 5-round fights for the whole day.
Yep.
And this was the third last fight, so there were still 2 title fights after it that were bloody good fights. So you've jumped the gun on me.
Yeah,
That's
right.
your con.
That's my con.
My pro was the whole card. So yes, that happened in it.
Oh,
but
you've-
my pro
you've
is the
changed your pro, yeah.
my pro is the whole card, and I'll tell you why. So
Yep.
the other than that 5 second, which was unbelievable, and
Yep.
I'm a huge Ben Askren fan. Masvidal need him in the face,
Yep.
and it was 5 seconds. He needed him in the face in the first second of the
Yep.
fight, and he was out cold. So it just took the ref to get across 5 seconds before the
Yep.
official time stopped. Unbelievable. Sucks for Ben Askren, who was undefeated before then. But the Amanda Nunes Holly Holm fight,
Yep.
unreal, unbelievable. A head
Holly
kick.
Holmes, what's happened to her? She's meant to be the next big thing.
I was in Melbourne and watched her knock out Ronda Rousey
Yep.
with a head kick.
Yep.
She just got knocked out with a head
Yeah.
kick by the best of all time. The greatest. Amanda Nunes, the greatest
But will she-
female of
okay.
all time fighter.
We're going off a
Guaranteed.
little tangent here, but will she then get beaten? You reckon? Like who?
There's not many people left to fight her, to be
Okay.
honest. So,
Alright.
I mean, she's beaten everyone. She beat Cyborg, who looked like she was going to be undefeatable. She
Yep.
knocked her out in the first round.
Okay, alright.
And there's not many people left for her to fight. I'm worried that they're not going to be able to find anyone for her.
Okay.
I think she's already goes down as the greatest ever. But then after that, John Jones fought with Thiago Santos.
Yep.
And
That was a
that went
a war.
That went the
wasn't it?
distance.
That was a war.
And John Jones, the greatest. Now, we had the 2 of the greatest. John Jones, in my eyes,
Yep.
the greatest of all time.
A lot of people's eyes.
And he went the distance. He fought a very smart fight. Thiago Santos, I just found out. Now, I haven't fact-checked this, but I'm pretty certain. In the first round, it looked like he really damaged his knee.
Yep.
And they were saying in the commentary that it could have been a previous injury going in. It looked like he did his ACL. I've had knee injuries before. It looked bad.
Yep.
Found out yesterday that it was an ACL, PCL, MCL, and the meniscus.
Completely butchered the
All
knee.
of it. Get a new knee. And he fought, and that was in the first round. He fought 5, and
It's
one
ridiculous,
judge
isn't it?
gave him the fight. So it was a split decision. John Jones won, but one judge said that he won it. Unreal. The toughest guy in the UFC.
Well,
That
no wonder
bloke.
no wonder it's your pro of the week.
It's
mate.
my
But
pro, mate.
I'm still saying that 5 seconds is my con, because if that happens in 3 fights in a row, which it hasn't, it'll be a massive anomaly.
Yeah.
But that one UFC massive event where it happens, I'm sure people will be complaining.
I agree, and I think there's been fights where the main card has been a really poor performance or something's happened so fast. What about Jose Aldo versus Conor McGregor? That happened in 13 seconds.
Exactly, yeah.
And
that's
people are still talking about it now, though. That's the difference.
They're talking about it, I agree, yeah, but just
yeah, the
you'd
people who
love
pay
the
the money.
entertainment to go for 25 minutes.
Yeah, you're right.
And obviously, you can't help it because it's a
No, I see
knockout
where you-
sport and that kind of thing. But
I see where you're coming from.
Yep. So
I
all right,
agree.
that's
You're
pro.
just annoyed, though, that those guys made hundreds of thousands of dollars for 5 seconds work. aren't
Yeah,
you?
well, obviously you have too much money to pay high hundreds for 5 seconds. But anyway, that's you. That's
Oh, those guys are doing all right for making 250 grand in 5 seconds,
True,
though,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
What about the guy
Yeah.
who just
But
did
you're
one knee
paying it.
kick?
You're paying
I know, I'm paying him.
That's
All right.
right. All right, so that's your pro.
And that's your con.
Yep. And then my pro for this week. Hopefully, it's not the opposite to mine because I'm very passionate about this. It's my pro is the month of July.
Okay. Tell
Right.
me more.
Tell you more.
Come
yeah.
on, mate. This is okay.
So-
mine next week's going to be the month of August.
Well, it's not going to be, mate, because if you listen to this, and I'm a sport lover, and the reason why, as you said, we're doing this podcast is a lot of it's sport, not all of it. A lot of it will be sport. The reason is because the month of July, right, consists of this. All right, now I've had to write it down because there's a massive list. The Tour de France is on, all right, so you get no sleep at night.
Yep.
Right? Wimbledon's on, so again, you probably get no sleep at night. So if you have dual Foxtel, you can watch them both at once. The Cricket World Cup is coming to a close, but it's still on in July. So the Aussies are playing very soon. I think maybe even tonight against England in the semi-final. You've got the women's soccer World Cup, which just finished,
Yep.
which was the start of July.
And the Aussies did bloody good in that.
Yeah, but the Americans won. So,
Americans won, though.
Yep,
Yes.
yep, standard. They're the best team in the world. Then you've got the golf, the British Open, which is obviously coincides with our talk with Brandon today. So that's another thing you're not going to get any sleep with over a weekend. Then you've got the British Grand Prix, F1, coming up. And then you've got the German Grand Prix.
Okay.
So it's a month full of sport. Plus, I haven't even spoken about Australia. I haven't even spoken about the NRL, the AFL, all that.
Yeah, we had Origin last night. Unbelievable game last night. You're right. I'm on you here.
It's every year the month of July. Obviously, you've got the World Cups different years and that kind of thing. But when you've got Wimbledon, Tour de France, F1, all in one month, it's unbelievable.
Would have been a good month to get that KO for free for a month, wouldn't it?
Really been.
Real good value.
Kale Hooker on Instagram is going very well with promoting KO.
Is he?
Yes. So he's done 2 posts today. So.
We don't have a sponsor, so I mean, if KO want to get on board, if not, you know what? I don't mind a bit of other action where you can just stream it online.
Well,
actually, no,
true.
I don't do that.
No, we don't.
No,
do
you
that.
should. I don't recommend that.
I pay up my Foxtel subscription.
Yes, that's true.
Yep. So what's your
my con this week? I'll tell you what. I'm disappointed because I'm a new dad, and that's not why I'm disappointed. I'm very happy. I'm very happy. I've got
about you if you were.
I've got a 7-week-old, and Jason Momoa, the Aquaman,
yeah. Game of Thrones.
Yep. Khal Drogo.
Yep.
What a rig, right?
He's a beast.
Everyone will agree with me. Huge rig. Yep. Looks great in those movies.
Yep.
He's relaxing after a long sort of probably couple of years of some big movies.
Yep.
Where he's looking jacked.
Yep.
He's been called out for having a dad bod on the beach, mate. And I'm telling you right now, this dad bod. Have you seen the photo?
I have seen the photo. Yeah.
If that's a dad bod, mate, sign me up. And I'm a dad. That's my con of the week. Someone who's called him out now. I get it. Guys don't get body shamed that often.
So is this? Are you worse than that body and then aspiring to be that body? So if you see people bagging that body, it makes you feel even worse?
No, I mean, did you look? No. Okay.
Where's that angle going?
Are we on the couch here? Are we sitting down talking about our problems? No, I'm happy with myself, mate. Very happy with myself. Yep. But the fact that he's being called out for having a dad bod because he decided to have a few frothies and not
vacation,
be. Yeah, he's on vacay and he's looking bloody good still. And he's a bit thick, but he's not as cut as he was, and maybe he's lost an ab or two. But
mate, that's social media.
I know it is, and it's this. Yeah, it's getting some clicks, I would imagine.
Yep.
But
all that would have been clickbait.
That's my con for the week, mate. Whoever decided to body shame Jason Momoa, gorgeous man. Get around him.
All right.
We'll have him on one day. That's not my guest. That's not my surprise guest, by the way.
No, it's not. All right, awesome. So now we'll get into our first guest.
Yes, bring on Brandon Rave, former PGA Asian Tour professional and a current PGA accredited golf coach. Can't wait for this, mate. He's a good mate of both of ours. It's going to be a bit of fun.
Yep, awesome. All right, Daniel, let's get into our chat with our great man, Brandon Rave.
Ravi, let's go with Ravi. It depends if I'm going out for a party or not, mate, but we'll go with Ravi. That's technically how it's pronounced, so that's what we'll run with.
This is going to be a great chat, Daniel.
I know, I can't wait for this, mate.
Yeah, this is going to be good. Tell us a bit about yourself, Brandon.
Firstly, thanks so much for having me, boys. Bit of it myself. Okay, so I've grown up in Melbourne, come through the amateur ranks as a golfer. Junior state team, that kind of thing. By age 17, I was in the VIS for 3 years as a scholarship holder there, which was an unbelievable experience and gave me a real insight about what it takes to become a professional level golfer. After that stage, you pretty much have an idea you're about to go to tour school, and I went to tour school via the Asian Tour in Thailand. And then I was playing on the Asian Tour, on the affiliate tour there, the development tour, for about 2.5 years. After which, mate, it just got a little bit hard for me, and had a really good insight into what it took. Did I have the talent to go further? Potentially, was the drive there? Definitely not. And by having that experience, it really gives you, as I said, an insight about what it takes. And yeah, just didn't want to go through with it. The good thing about golf is we have a lot of career paths, and I chose the coaching pathway. I went through the PGA traineeship for 3 years, and now I see myself coaching quite a few professionals in China, working locally, of course, at the Heritage and Freeway Golf Course.
I mean, there's a lot in that. Like that's a great overview of what you're doing, but
Sounds like a job interview.
I know. Yeah. It was just straight into it.
It's not a casting couch, is it?
I think we're almost done, are we? That was just the overview right there. Yeah, we can cut
thanks
that
for coming in, mate. It's been a great chat.
Just so what I noticed there was when you spoke about your early childhood playing golf. Mm-hmm. all of a sudden, bang, you find yourself overseas. I mean, that's massive. Like, in terms of AFL draft, you can be in different states, but for you were in a different country all of a sudden. And finding that as a young kid, how did you cope with having to go overseas, away from family, and trying to make a dream come true?
Personally, I wasn't away for years on end and that kind of thing. We're quite lucky in Australia, obviously being close to Asia, that you're not too far away, firstly, but you're only away for 3-week stints. Typically, they'll have the tournaments end on end, so you can get 3 weeks in, come back home for an extended period of time. So, in terms of homesickness and that kind of thing, you never really, miss it too much. Traveling with a lot of the boys, anyone from any Australian tour will tell you that it's great fun. We get along really well with all the boys growing up, from state teams, that kind of thing. So even if you're the only Victorian, you've got the New South boys, Queensland, everyone gets along. It really is a great experience.
No rivalry between the states or anything?
Not at all. Not like, say, we just saw the State of Origin last night. Nothing like that.
Okay.
Bit of international rules about it though, right? Did you do that? Did you do that trip? Have you done the Irish one?
I haven't done the Irish trip. No, I would love to. Golfers are a different breed, I might say.
A few thirsty fish down there, mate. They can go along with it. You don't need to be. It's not about the skin folds for us, mate. It's about what's between your noggin. But yeah, so you start playing well, doors open. So if you finish well on the money lists, you'll get invites to, say, co-sanctioned events, European tour. You're making money. Everything's good. Everything just happens really organically and naturally. However, as I said, for my example, couple years into it, you start really second guessing yourself. As is the talent there? Yeah, potentially. Everyone's good at that level, but it really is all about a desire and wanting to win major championships and becoming, ultimately getting onto the US tour, which, that's life goals really. So, but as I said before, it is interesting post, we'll call it career, that golf has so many options for you, whether it be business, golf coaching, working in the golf shop. There is a lot to do going forward, which is really exciting.
When you're on tour, how does it work? You got to keep your pro card, all that sort of stuff. And at what point does it, how does that all work? And then at what point does it just sort of drop off?
Yep. So typically it's pretty uniform around every tour around the world, from the US tour to the web.com to, to we'll call it the Asian Development Tour and Asian Tour. So basically at the end of the year, you get ranked. It's basically a money list, and the top certain amount will retain their status for the next year. So retained status basically means you might get 100% of the tournaments. There'll be conditional status where, let's say it's top 100, get your card. Let's say from 100 to 125, you get X amount of tournaments. Okay, and that's how it works. If you're outside all of those, you have to go back to tour school, which I call like draft camp for the footy players out there. You got to go back and get re-ranked in the draft camp or the tour school, and then you'll essentially go back and try and retain your card for the following year. And that's quite uniform from all the tours. Now, how you get from, say, point A to point B, let's just say you want to get onto the web.com tour, which is the tour below the US tour. There are a few ways to go about it. Not anymore. PGA China used to have the top 3 in their money list, used to get an invite into the web.com tour. But now it's, you got the Latino tour and that kind of thing. So top, I'm not sure how many it is, but if you finish on the top, say, 10 in the money list there, you'll get an invite into the web.com tour. And at the end of the web.com tour, the top 25 get onto the US tour. So it's so cutthroat. It's just like, when we see guys playing on that US tour, making millions, to get there alone is phenomenal.
Mate, for me, it just seems too hard. Like, it's
ridiculous.
Amazing. You're competing with golfers all around the world. Like, right. In Australia, you compete with a couple of thousand kids every year trying to play footy, and the AFL has 800, 900 players. So the percentage is so much more bigger than what you guys are. It's so small percentage make the top leagues around the world. Like, it's unbelievable for kids out there listening or that play golf or whatever. It's such a small, unique percentage that make it in the end. It just seems very hard.
Well, especially I think because there's so many amateur players. There's so many backyard golfers. I love having a hit. You love having a hit. And we're not very good. And then you look at we've played together, and you've sort of we've had coaching sessions together. You've coached Dave before, and the level you're at is, in my eyes, freakish. You look at it and you're like, how are you so good? So what's the difference? And is it minute? Is it like it's a game of inches, but is it that minute, the difference between, maybe where you were at when you were on the tour compared to where Adam Scott is at?
Yeah.
Is it a huge jump?
It's a great question. I mean, those guys were great at a young age. Self-belief is immaculate. Now, it's a combination between technical proficiency and the ability to get the ball in the hole. Now, I know that sounds very easy or like very basic, but under the pump, I need to hit a little bit of a right to left draw. I need to be able to pull that off. Where I'm going to go next is a good little segue for, say, the winners on tour last week. Matthew Wolff, funky looking swing, but it's immaculate where it matters in the slot. He finds a way to get it there. Self-belief is immaculate, technically proficient, great short game, something that the punter, as you said, doesn't have. When we consider how to practice, and when we make practice plans for our amateur level golfers, 99% of the time they're on the driving range hitting golf balls. Now, that's a small part of the overall game. If we were to share with you statistics about the US Tour and their putting and chipping capabilities from inside 100 meters, that really sets them apart from, say, me. As you're saying, you see me on a driving range hitting in over the fence, that's pretty cool. But in my eyes, it's like, I'm so bad from 100 meters. Like, that's the difference. And to do so consistently on courses where the rough's up to your knees and the courses are 7,000 meters is truly remarkable. Now, going back, Dave, to what you said about you've got AFL, which is obviously predominantly a local sport compared to a worldwide sport like golf. Yeah, to see those guys week in, week out, the Adam Scotts, the Woods and Tiger, that kind of thing, Rose, all those consistent guys perform week in, week out is remarkable in my eyes. To drive the ball that well, putt it, chip it, travel, it's phenomenal and a real testament to their work ethic and ability to just zone out and do what they need to do, because there's no salaries, right? Like, I know they get at that level, they get really good sponsorships and that kind of thing, and it's a pretty good run. But at the end of the day, you've got to be extremely self-motivated to get out there and do what you need to do in conjunction with your physical program and strength and conditioning. Are you going from strength? Are you going from plyometrics? Are you going to more of a Pilates type routine when you're doing your golf? It's so diverse, especially these days. Golfers are athletes. If you look at them.
Did they not used to be athletes compared to now? Like, has it changed in that regard?
I mean, if we define athlete, it's anyone that sort of plays sport. We can define an athlete as someone that fill a power tailor.
But has like diet, food? I'll go on a bit of a segue here. But has diet, food? Because you see guys on Instagram. I don't know if any listeners follow Rory McIlroy, Brooks Koepka, and all that, and you see him in the gym before a round. You see him pumping squats in and all that. And 10, 15 years ago, no one ever thought that was the case. Whether you didn't see it because of social media wasn't around then or what, but people didn't have the view that golfers were athletes.
Yeah, no, that's a fair comment.
What's your view on that?
That's a very fair comment, and you're probably correct. It probably happened from a minute point of view, but say someone like a Tiger Woods really changed the game. I think that's why he's so influential in the eyes of the purist. We get guys that hop on the bandwagon, Tiger, he's so good, but for the golf, we'll call it expert, Tiger changed the game in regards to preparation, dedication, and just his physical presence on the course, let alone his skill, was just ridiculous. So, it could be a combination of lack of social media influence and and that kind of thing. But I mean, be like the footy boys back in the 90s, right? Finish a game, go to the social club, have a couple of brewskis. But,
John Daly's still making a career out of it.
Yeah, and he's a skilled golfer.
Hitting putts at Hooters, that's what he's doing, isn't he?
Yeah, he gets a bit done, the big JD. But look, that's the thing. You can walk 7 kilometers and hit a few good drives, putt it. It's not necessarily taxing on the body. Where Daly would not keep up in this day and age is he couldn't play 40 tournaments on the run.
Yeah. Yep.
Whereas the longevity of, say, a Justin Rose, a McElroy, guys who are well versed in their physical capability, understanding their body in conjunction with what they're trying to do from a technical perspective is amazing. You've got to be like a footy player these days. Guys will understand that if my right glute is tight, that's going to hinder my ability to rotate, and therefore this shot's going to occur because of that. Now, if you're walking 7 kilometers at Augusta, where it's really, really hilly, you're going to fatigue. Things are going to seize up. So if you're not on top of that, I really question your longevity in the game. Firstly, from an injury prevention perspective, but secondly, how are you going to finish 18 holes fresh and being able to do the things you wanted to do? I mentioned a few minutes ago how I need to be able to hit a right to left shape on call when I want to. If something's wrong with my body and I can't physically do that move, you're relying on your short game, making pars, as opposed to firing at the flags, doing what I want to do. So, and that can be the difference between, say, the elite ball strikers of the world, say, Koepke, watch these guys dominate, Dustin Johnson, to, someone who's 100 in the world, who's still making millions of dollars, but they're not, world class, so to speak. So that is a really good insight about how you travel with a team and that thing these days. And, your biomechanist, your physio, your strength and conditioning coach will work in conjunction with your swing coach to develop the ultimate athlete. And I think that's a really good insight to what the coaches these days, or at least what I'm trying to preach to my students, my better students, how you can only do what your body lets you, which is awesome. A really good insight.
So with your coaching now, how much is that? You just spoke on that the tech and all that sort of things has changed so much, and the ability to be able to get all that vision and be able to analyze it. You're using that every day.
I'm using my TrackMan. A lot of lessons. Now, you don't want to take away the purity from golf coaching in the sense that, 20 years ago, there was no such thing as a TrackMan or simulation. So you relied on your eye and being able to coach the student to be able to do things more physically and visually, whereas now you've got the evidence there to back it up. So I think from a coaching perspective, we can now, when we're doing, say, like a 10 lesson package or something, lesson 1 can be all about data gathering. Okay, we've got your data. This is concrete evidence. Now we can work towards a 2-month goal of getting those numbers from your spin rate might be too high and this is going wrong and this and this to, okay, this is now we're optimizing your ball flight. And as a byproduct of these advancements, we're seeing your score being lowered, so to speak. So I think for the punter out there to see that stuff or to have the access of what the professionals have is so valuable. It really makes the price per hour worth it. But just if you're not doing that as a coach these days, you are probably falling behind.
Just on that technology, local course in Melbourne, Yarra Bend has just put in, I think, top traces in 30 bays. Amazing. But how do you find, might put you out of a job, but how do you find in terms of, so if you're an amateur golfer and you go to Yarra Bend, right, and you have no experience in using this technology whatsoever, all of a sudden you're going there, you're hitting shots and you're trying to read the screen, and then you could actually almost make your game worse by, you don't know how to read that technology.
100%.
You change the game. How do you find that as a coach, or how would you explain to someone how it all works? Or you still need to see a coach if you want to get better.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always going to give coaches a hook there, but that's the reality of it. Yeah, the top tracer stuff is great if you know how to interpret it. Yep, exactly as you said. So the numbers and all that are really exciting. The interpretation is key because you might misinterpret things, and this is where, as a coach, I don't necessarily like a lot of YouTube tips and that kind of thing. Especially if I've got guys working on a particular thing, they search YouTube and go, slice, and there's going to be 1,000 ways that you slice the ball. So What I like to see coaches do on Instagram and that sort of thing is document their lessons with their students, give an insight to what happens. I don't necessarily like, this is how you fix your slice or this is what you need to do, because there are a million reasons. As I said, from a physical perspective, you've got an office worker who's got really tight shoulders, can't turn. There's a reason why they slice the ball compared to, say, yourself, Dave, primed athlete, really mobile. There might be something wrong with your hip that creates a slice. So the coaches, I mean, coaching tips online can be detrimental, in fact, to what the student sees and what they want to do. But my recommendation is always have a coach to help you interpret the stats in conjunction with what you're working on technically. So very important, very, very important.
The average punter, back onto them, and you know, there's a million ways to fix a slice, but how do you fix a slice? No, but if you do look at a player like, who is just once every month goes out and has a whack, can you just look at them and go, oh, I can tell you 3 things right now, and it will change the way you play. Yeah,
that's right. And there's typically a cause and effect. As a coach, you try and look for the root problem, whether that be physically, it can also be mentally. It can also be there's water on the right, and the punter just pulls it to the left, and that's going to create, a club path that's left, it's going to create a curvature on the ball. So as a coach, we really need to figure out the root cause. As I said, there's a mental and physical component to that. But to answer your question, yes, we can see from a long way away why this person is going to have a particular curvature on the ball, for sure.
What's the most common thing that you can see and fix straight away in the average bloke?
Yeah. So as a preference, coach, you like to have a swing preference. And now what I typically see, this is very important, this is not the be all and end all. What I typically see, the reason why people slice it is their lack of mobility. Now, when I talk about mobility, let's talk about the average 9 to 5 punter out there, office job, shoulders really caved in. When I get pretty technical here, but their scap's not activated, they can't rotate properly. So typically they're lifting their arms quite high and they're swinging down on the ball, chopping it, so to speak. If you think about a slice volley in tennis, you're chopping across the ball. That's the similar movement we see. And that's going to create, as I said, the path of the golf club working left, which is going to typically, depending on the club base, create a left to right curvature on the ball. So that is the typical one we see. And there's that combination, biomechanically between the physical capability of the human and what they can produce from a golf perspective. So, but yeah, that's typically what we would see.
Obviously, giving us a lot of insight into your coaching, the swing and all that. Who do you actually coach? What's your age group? Do you have a limit? Where are your clients coming from?
Yep.
And your company is called
Scratch Golf Society. That's correct. Yeah, we started that going about a year now. So Scratch Golf is all around building a golf community. I guess we're working locally, but thinking globally.
Yep.
So currently,
Great slogan.
Yeah,
mate.
thank you, Damien. Yeah, that's just copyright that, mate. Our vision at Scratch was essentially, as I said before, growing up through golf, playing in Asia. I've got a lot of Chinese clients.
Yep.
Unfortunately, one of my very good colleagues, Steve, his auntie has a travel company, Odyssey Travel, and they bring a lot of mainland Chinese people back to Australia from China. So we sat together one day and organically this came up. I was coaching and this kind of, the market's not huge in Melbourne. It's there, but it's seriously condensed, the amount of coaches we have. So there's a bit of a ceiling on what you can make. Now, that's not a negative attitude. I just, as I said, like to think outside the square a little bit to build, something half decent here. So we sat together, and the Asian market is huge for golf. Obviously, the population in China's 1.5 billion or something like that. So with our contacts, we work together in a few academies over there, so we can coach in 4 places now. In Guangzhou, we've got Wuhan and Chongqing, and we're just about to start in Zhengzhou. So we coach over there. We'll call it a week every month. Yep. But we also bring students to Australia. The convenient thing there is in our winter, it's their summer, so they can come over here, and that's at the Heritage Golf Club where our camps are based. And we provide the kids with a 2-week sort of intensive camp much like a VIS or AIS style program. So in China, what we found, not to be derogatory, was the coaches are a lot more just range rats. They just pound balls, pound balls, pound balls. Now, if we go back a little bit and talk about the physical aspect of development, that can be a hindrance at times. You can be compounding the error if you're not sure what you're actually coaching. It's like saying to you, Dave, you just run 30 Ks every day. Well, hang on, it's going to flare at my knee, or in their minds are doing the right thing, but it's potentially hindering the student's progress, especially at a young age. So what we're trying to, I guess, educate their coaches is with more the physical side of it. So we'll run lectures on nutrition, physical preparation, mental preparation, allowing the students to peak for tournament golf. They stay in a phase which we call, technical phase, whether it's pound balls, as we said. But what we really need, like any athlete, is, a testing phase. That's where we'll get our strength and conditioning people on board. I've got Oliver Yorn there down at Fit Golf. He's fantastic. He does all our sort of screenings and that. And from that, we'll see the capabilities of the student, and then we'll build a program according to their, physical capabilities. So also we've got the TrackMan there to get their stats. So from that, we've got some solid concrete data we would use to go, okay, you, sir, you need to do this, this, and this in conjunction with your physical capabilities. There'll be some generic things where we take them on the golf course, but we find that that's the best way to go forward in tailoring people's programs to what they physically can do. And it's a really good insight into life on tour. We can provide an insight there. I've been, the guys I hang around, I know a lot of extremely good amateur golfers and extremely good pros who are either retired and that kind of thing. And we get it. We know what it takes. And I think that's a really, for the Chinese parents anyway, it's a really good insight into what it takes. So they will invest heavily for their kids' future if they know the pathway is accurate.
Have you found any childhood prodigies far?
Like there's heaps. The standard of the kids over there, the work ethic is remarkable. We have kids who are 11 years old off 1-2 handicaps, and that's no Mayo.
Are you anywhere near that, Daniel?
It's just a joke, isn't it?
Yeah, look,
The technology these days allows that with the big heads and the drivers and whatnot, so the kids can pump it out there 210, which is it doesn't sound heaps, but
for an 11-year-old,
it is awesome.
Yeah.
On the tech, on the tech, that's changed so drastically, and these kids are getting access to it. But you can go down to bloody Drummond now and get it some. Massive driver that's going to do something good for you. All this marketing.
The guys at Drummond, they look at you and they go, I reckon you'll fit in this. All that.
Yeah, this one that I got hanging on the shelf, this is perfectly built for you.
This is our last one. Shit, you can't get it.
but what do you see people get sucked into? Like the average, because there's a difference. Yep. Like what can help you or then a pro on tour, it's not really going to be that great for me. I need to just be able to bloody hit the thing straight.
100%. We say that too much. You turn on the golf, your British Open coming up, it's going to be driver. You suck, you hit it too short. And typically, and I can speak on the male demographic here, we're just egotistical pricks. So if I'm hitting it short, it must be the driver, right? So I need to load up on a Chief. But the thing, in reality, I'm going to put my coach's hat on it, which I guess is why you have me on here.
Yep.
The reality is you can give a pro, some piece of shit clubs and they're still going to play half decent.
Yep.
If I give you the best driver, the ads will tell you you're gonna crank it up, but the reality is it's probably not going to change the game too much.
Sound good though,
sounds great,
and you'll look bloody good.
Yeah, I just got blades.
It's either going to be just short of the green, or it's going to be 2 fairways across. So if it's just short of the green, you look good.
As long as you look good, mate, when you're walking into the course. That's all that matters.
Exactly right.
What would you give an advice purely just an amateur? You're not coaching him, but it's just a bloke just wants. Like you said, we want to hit it.
Decent.
280. No, but we want, as amateurs, we rock up on a Sunday morning. You've had 10 beers and up before and you go,
standard.
I want to hit it 300 metres. I want to get it right near it. What advice would you give? No, you just play the fairway, hit it on.
And people aren't stupid. So this is where, course management, when we talk about the term course management, a lot of people think it's, play safe and make sure we hit the fairway. The reality is if you technically can't hit the fairway, and I'm telling you to play safe, you can't play safe anyway.
Yeah.
So statistically, you are genuinely better off smashing driver as close as you can to the green, and it's easier to make up and down from 50 in the rough than 100 on the fairway. That's factual. So there's a lot of old people out there who might not like me for this, but it's time to move on.
Yep.
The reality is, and I'm gonna go on silence.
Here we go.
Facts,
Just keep going.
The closer you are to the hole, statistically, you are more likely to get the ball closer to the hole in proximity. So, I mean, you've got to be real to yourself as the amateur guy. You haven't practiced. You don't deserve to play well. Hit driver and smash it and have some fun.
Yep.
If you're one of those guys, I'm just going to pull out iron because it's safe. Just drive home because what's fun about that?
You're giving my physio a good run though. Whack at every hole.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the trade-off, isn't it? And that's where we come back to. If you're genuinely fair dinkum about getting better at golf, you need to get lessons and you need to listen to your coach and you need to at least go to the range once a week and do the practice plan as opposed to just hitting chief balls as hard as you can.
Yeah. So hitting 100 balls is irrelevant if you're hitting 25 to 50, maybe really good ones that you follow the lesson plan, you walk away, you go, I've achieved something today from the driving range rather than just smashing 100.
Exactly. And when we go back to our tours, we have our testing phase. So we gather the data so the student can actually follow what they're doing and there's a progression to that so they can, the definition of peak performance isn't necessarily for professionals. That might be you need a peak for your C grade club championships.
Yep.
And that's great. We'll work with you to get there. Now, in order for you to get there, we'll do our skills tests and from there we'll find out, mate, you're terrible. From 40 meters, you can't chip it on the green. Let's focus our time on that. It may not necessarily be hitting 100 pills on the range. It might be, but typically we find it's a short game that hinders most amateur golfers. So, golf is going to the range and hitting heaps of balls is fun, and you don't want to take that away from you. But if you are fair dinkum about getting better, there is a curriculum you must follow, and I believe that's due diligence of the coach. You must. In that hour you have your lesson, you've got to spend 10 minutes of that. Just this is what you need to do, and don't come back to me until this is suffice. You've completed this practice plan. Otherwise, we cannot go forward. What happens typically is I'll see you next week. Yeah, cool, mate. Hit some 6 irons, you're going to camera, and that's fine. You can hit 100 balls, but there must be some sort of structure to that.
Yep.
You've been around golf a while. What's the funniest stuff you've seen? Because have you seen Charles Barkley's swing?
Oh, it's unbelievable.
There's got to be more than just his thing. That is ridiculous. That's the yips. Is that the yips?
Full yippery.
You would have had someone on par with that, wouldn't you?
China's good. You get to choose shorts over there.
Who's the Asian player on tour who has that swing and he twirls around?
Yeah.
Have you had anyone like that?
Well, here's the thing. This guy's making millions of dollars doing it.
Yeah,
and technically what I said about Matthew Wolff earlier,
he's got the glitch in his swing.
He aims well to the right, picks the club up well, he pulls it back on line. But if you look at where he is a couple frames before impact, he's absolutely, we call it mayor's office, perfect. You watch Tiger, all those guys will be in the same position. Success leaves clues. Now, is that something you will preach to your students? Absolutely not. Is there something going wrong with his swing where he technically can't do we'll call it textbook swing? Yeah, potentially. Very famous golfer in the States, Kenny Perry, he was in a car crash, had a neck injury, and then he has to reroute the club and do this little jig. Now, just to the punter on TV, they're like, oh, get a load of this guy, but he knows how to get it around.
Yep.
So that's what we combine, that athletic side of things when guys are well versed at deadlifts and they're physically strong and they can pump out 40 weeks on tour, compared to the John Dalers of the world who just back in their skills.
So we've spoken a little bit about technology, and your mantra I'm getting from listening to is a lot of practice and doing the right practice.
Yeah, quality over quantity. I know it's an old saying, but it's pretty true, isn't it?
Yep. Now with with an amateur golfer, all you do is, and companies are amazing in this. You see Drum and Golf all the time, advertise clubs on TV, and you get smashed with certain clubs, PXGs or TaylorMades or whatever. So your philosophy is a lot about practice. For an amateur golfer at home who's watching TV ads and that, is there a best golf club you could get, or is it no, you get whatever club, and if you go get a lesson, you're going to be able to play the right way. It's not. There's no golf club that's going to be able to make you play magic golf, isn't there?
Unfortunately.
Depends if you're sponsored or not.
TaylorMade. Used to be, not anymore.
He's good. Benji down at Clayton TaylorMade.
He's had a couple of shout-outs.
He's the man. I've known Benji for a long time. He helped me out a little bit down there. It's great setup. But we'll move
welcome
on.
anytime, Benji. Anytime you're welcome in.
Don supporter too. Sorry.
Definitely. Yeah. But is there great clubs out there that are going to be great for your swing, or is it just more that it's maybe one club is tailored to you, another club's tailored to Daniel, another club's tailored to me, that kind of thing? And
I think these days clubs are. It's not a great hook for the companies, is it? But
no,
but the modern day clubs are very generic.
Yep.
We'll call it. So it is a little bit on how much you can afford and budget and that sort of thing. So my best advice, if you are on a budget, is to get a good brand.
Yep.
Get a package set. You can find stuff, even TaylorMade stuff. I mean, obviously the better stuff is going to help you, but let's say you get something for under $1,000, which is exceptional.
Yep.
That's the reality of playing golf. It's going to cost you a little bit.
Yep.
Get a good company, get a good brand, and you can find different package sets of that brand. The technology is so good these days where, clubs are forgiving, clubs are huge. 8-irons go a lot further than they used to when I was a kid.
Just on that, how far do you reckon clubs are going to be able to go? Because every year you feel like they go, they're 8 meters further. They're going to be 8 meters further. Yeah. Golf courses don't change because they're set. Clubs, surely you're not going to be able to hit 8-iron 200 meters surely in the future.
Yeah, it's actually the ball it's been the biggest advancement in my eyes. Like clubs can only get so big. Now obviously we're talking about TrackMan and the biomechanics behind golf tuition, but in terms of golf technology, I mean, you don't want to see anything plateau in terms of technology, but where do we go? It's a great question. I mean, the ball, in my opinion, is remarkable in terms of just like durability, how it spins, how far they go. We got like twist face technology nowadays. You can hit something completely out of the hosel and hit the fairway kind of thing. So
yeah, that's amazing. I've seen that. Have you seen that video of when they first brought that out? It was a couple of years ago, wasn't it? Or maybe. And
TaylorMade.
TaylorMade. Yes, TaylorMade. TaylorMade. We're going to get hit with those ads soon. But that was unbelievable because they were pulling draws and fades, but they were landing on the golf.
It is remarkable.
Do you think that stuff's going to filter down and then become the norm where every golfer's going to be able to hit it on the fairway, no matter how shit their drive is?
We're still missing fairways. Yeah, that's the thing.
That's the
we're
problem.
still missing fairways.
I'm asking, man, because I need.
You got to be able to not top it, don't you? Like, you actually hit
That's true. You have to hit it in the middle of the
forward's a great start. I mean, where does it go? I mean, if the technology is available for everyone, I mean, good luck to us. But as I said, I don't know how much further we can go. I mean, the players are so long nowadays because they got all this technology, but they're physically just superior to their predecessors. Do the fans want to see a lot of birdies? Probably. Is it going to be boring to see someone win a US Open with even? Yeah, I guess so, but it's a real test of golf.
The golf purists love that.
Yeah, links. Like I love link style golf.
Yeah.
To the punter on TV, it's like, it's raining again. This looks pretty bland out there.
That's like every sport at the moment, isn't it?
Rush.
You look at the NFL want more touchdowns, the NBA want more 3-pointers, AFL want more scoring, and golf wants birdies. You want. Well,
that's the thing. I'm probably a sports pure. Like I love Test cricket.
Yep.
I don't hate 2020. I think it's good. There's nothing on TV, so I'll watch 2020. But I love Test cricket. I can sit there and watch a day and not move and understand that this guy's bowling outside off, and like this is great. This is enthralling.
But your average Joe, like you said, who's going to turn on the TV on a Sunday afternoon, wants to see birdies.
Yeah, and the average Joe's getting older and older and older. So you've got to try and cater for the younger demographic who have shorter attention spans, who want to see sixes or in our case birdies and long drives. I mean,
Well, do you think there's going to be a different form? Like, I mean,
Yeah, good question.
Cricket have tried to advance by introducing first. It was one-day cricket in 2020 and shortening it so it's easier to watch for young kids.
I think the 6-hole format, the general consensus between the PGA pros in Australia and Perth has been pretty cool. You know, having like a qualification process, the knockout match play. I reckon that's great for the game. You should never take away from the majors. But trying to maybe introduce some things like that are great, and it's going to draw more sponsors and that kind of thing. You know, especially in Australia, unfortunately, it's there's not much going on for the boys, so they've got to look elsewhere to fill their diaries in terms of a yearly schedule. So the tournaments on the Aussie PGA Tour, there's only maybe 4 or 5 big events. That's why guys tend to go elsewhere, Asia, you know, China and Japan and that kind of thing. But introducing things like these 6-hole tournaments, match play, and that kind of thing, I reckon it's great. You've got to evolve. Every other sport's evolving.
How about this? Did they play a rule where you have to do a nudie run if you don't get past the women's?
No, but it's definitely your Wally grout when you go back to the bar.
We play that.
Your Wally grout.
David, you're right. Why are you writing that down, David? You're going to use that, mate.
Who's good at the club? Who's a good golfer?
Well, Brendan Goddard was the best. Trav Coley again was. Those two were probably number 1, number 2. Devon Smith picks up a golf club almost every day. He's playing off about 4 or 5 at the moment. I think he's pretty much self-taught.
Wow.
Dev. And then Jakey Stringer loves golf. There's a few boys. Raz tries to, but he gets cover drives. He played cricket too much as a kid.
So the covers.
You've coached, Brandon. You've had a couple of coaching sessions with Dave.
Yep.
The difference, and then obviously you got these pro golfers that you're coaching too. The difference between an amateur like me and then a professional athlete, maybe not even a golfer, but someone of Dave's caliber who's professional in the way he prepares for his regular sport. Is there a difference that you see?
Yeah, look, as a professional athlete under any bracket, they just kind of understand the process, and you've got to enjoy the process. Now, you're going to hear that term a lot. You know, I'm just sticking to the process week by week kind of thing. But it really is as simple as that. The technical performances are a byproduct of how thorough her processes are. So for someone like Dave, obviously great hand-eye coordination. You can kick on your left and right. You've got athletes just get it, right? I can say to a tennis player, your action at the moment is a slice volley. I need you to feel a little bit more topspin lob. And you can see their eyes and their hands sort of make a little gesture in terms of, and then they start to figure out the curvature of the ball. Now, I believe any ball sport, footy, golf, soccer, that kind of thing, the spin axis of the ball is quite universal. If you think of how a soccer ball curves from right to left, and you can picture a guy taking a corner kick, you know, the swing direction of his boot is a little bit, we call it in to out in golf, but a little bit right to left. Now that path of the boot's going to create a right to left curvature on the ball. Now, if I have a soccer player and he's slicing it, I'm going to say, look, if you could picture a corner kick here, how the boot works and how the spin, and then they sort of, I get it. And you can see their eyes and their mind just like, you know, light bulb moment. And here's the thing about practice, you know, if you don't know what you're doing and you go to the range and pound 100,000 balls, compounding your error, it's going to be harder to get out of the error.
I reckon when you get a lesson in golf, typically you average, like your mates always say that you go worse after you go to the driving range and you go, this is not working.
Yeah.
Whereas, like you said, the athlete might understand the process, and amateur might go, hang on, I've had one lesson, I'm going to the driving range.
Yeah, correct.
I'm just divots. So how many one lesson people have you had? How many you've never heard from ever again?
Unfortunately, in Melbourne, it's just the norm. So unfortunately, this is basically the recipe. You get a lesson. You need time to allow this new movement to become automatic. Yeah. So you can step up onto the golf course and be, I need to aim at that tree, and you just execute. We talk about the zone in golf or in footy or anything. Dave, you know, when you're setting up for goal and you I don't know if you've got a little bit of a curvature on the ball when you have a set shot.
Straight through the middle.
Straight through the guts. Righto. Okay,
a little bit.
All right, so Dave,
if we're being serious, it's a little bit left to right.
Okay, great. So the fact that David understands his particular preference as a goal kicker, that's awesome information. So he's going to aim a little bit to the left, and he's subconsciously going to just visualize the ball falling from left to right, and that's what he'll see, and he'll execute. When Dave misses 2 to the left and the third one goes to the right, he's going to get a little bit, oh my God, what do I do here? Do I pull across it? Do I try and do I kick it straight again? And then all of a sudden, if his mental stimulus isn't strong enough, he's going to start second guessing himself. And we see a lot of time in AFL level, guys who are unbelievable field kicks, their eyes start darting around inside 50, and there's the fan like, just kick that fucking go away. Yeah, it's hard. So that's the thing. So in terms of the typical amateur, that a lot of them are, I won't say uneducated, but yeah, you're probably uneducated. They think that a lesson just fixes you. Yeah. Unfortunately, it doesn't. The analogy I like to give is the doctors, right? You go to the doctors, you got a rash. Right, the doctor goes, mate, all right, Brandon. Yeah.
Is this what you tell all your clients?
How's it going anyway, Dave? You tell it's getting better.
Is this what you tell all your clients?
This is exactly what I tell my clients. They resonate with someone who just talks absolute nonsense. So, all right, you go to the doctors, and the doctor goes, oh yeah, Brandon, you need to put this cream on the prescribed area, and you need to do it once a day for 2 weeks. Okay, and come back in 2 weeks, and we'll have a look again. Okay. And
you're doing that, aren't you? You got a rash?
Yeah.
Oh,
has it been all right? Is it itchy still?
It's getting better. It's terrible. And we get all sorts of idea. Anyway, let's just move on.
Yeah, but you follow it through. That's
the prescription, the prescribed program. Because there's some sort of desperation, you will do it. You want to get rid of the rash. So you're going to apply it, once every day for X amount of times. And in 1 week or 2 weeks, whatever it was, you should see some results. Yep. That's the process. And then you come to the doctor and he goes, oh, mate, it's actually getting better. And so it's a little bit of a segue, but a lot of people ask me, what's the difference with how does Tiger Woods get coaching? He swings at mint, what's wrong with him? And that's what the best coaches do. They're almost a little bit of a psychologist. They're there to reiterate slight little tinkerings with their students. Tiger, we know this is what you need to do. This is what history has shown you do to get the ball on the fairway. We're going to just reiterate those facts, and it instills confidence in the player. So Tiger can step out on the first tee and react to the target. Okay, react. Next hole, react. In between shots, the ability to switch off is so imperative. Otherwise, you're out there for 5 hours, just going crazy. So the best guys, the best mentally strong guys on tour. Pre-shot routine, execute, get the feedback, switch off. Talk to your caddy about footy or whatever it is, just switch off. Then when it's your time to go again, switch on. So there's that the amalgamation between sports psychologist and the actual coach. That's their connection.
Yep.
How do we get you ready for peak performance? How do we get you in developmental routines for you to not kill yourself on tour?
Yep.
Right.
Amateurs cannot putt, right? We cannot putt. Give us some tips about how to read a putt.
All right.
And how to make putts.
Yeah, I don't think reading's the issue. I think and this is going to sound really basic. So the whole notion of putting, you need to be able to roll the ball consistently straight every time.
Yep.
If you can roll the ball well and straight every time, you don't need to make as many compensations over your stroke. Okay, so if you hit 3 putts...
Don't give too much away here, by the way.
No,
we do want people to come see you, but just a little bit.
I thought I was getting paid for this. All right, if I hit 3 putts and one shows, and this is where Sand Putt Lab, one of our affiliates, Michael Coon, has got a sand putt. It's unbelievable. So if you hit 1 putt, the face is open. The next one's square. The next face is closed. You've got such a wide dispersion of club face angles at the ball. The ball's going to spin different, have different oscillations, roll different. How can you expect consistency? So in order to be able to putt well, you need to be able to roll the ball consistent. If you can roll the ball consistent, you minimize the length of your stroke and make it really efficient. The more condensed, I guess, your putting stroke is, less variables in the face rotation equals better dispersion of the ball. Okay, so when we do skills testing with our punters, we do a test from, we put a tee in the ground, we have a 15-foot putt, and we look at your dispersion over 10, and there's 3 on the right, there's 3 in the car park, fucking 1 on the hole. So they think they're good because 1 went in, but the reality is 9 are horrendous. Whereas you get Tiger Woods and all the best putters in the world, Ricky Fowler and those kind of guys, from 15 feet, there might be 3 going the hole, but the other 12 are within 3 inches. Yep. So proximity to hole is the main stat that we use. But yeah, going back a little bit, bud, yeah, in order to be a good putter, you need to be able to deliver the face consistently to the ball so the ball rolls straight and true. We need to get the ball having overspin as fast as possible. And that's where, you know, the coach will work with you from a technical level to figure out why the ball or the face is being manipulated so hard and that kind of thing.
Awesome. So one more thing. We've had a great chat. You've been an awesome guest. Fun stuff now. British Open is coming up.
Yeah.
Who is your tip? Tip Smitty, I want a tip from you too, so you better think about it. Who's your tip and why they're going to win?
I like Tiger.
I agree.
I like the way he's hitting his irons at the moment, and typically, obviously, in a link style course, very affected by the old elements there.
Yep. But okay, did you see the other day on Instagram? So he's getting up at 1 a.m. to focus on the time zone difference, which is 6 a.m. But I haven't seen him have a practice round yet. He hasn't. He just doesn't practice anymore.
Or have you?
Well, yeah, or have we? He might
Or
be,
is
but the time different thing's unbelievable.
And that's Tiger. When you look at his schedule, typically, it was just frightening.
Yeah.
And to a point where now I'm just speculating here, but he did have some pretty severe injuries in his knee and his back. He loved running, just hill sprints, that kind of thing every day. Almost a bit of a workaholic.
Yep.
But in terms of just that self-driven behavior, and I think from what I've studied is the top 20 guys on tour, they're so diligent and intense. Now, as an AFL player, it's a lot of just racking up kilometers, a lot of rehab. It's hard stuff. Very similar to a golfer, apart from the kilometers, of course. But to do that when no one's telling you to do it is what doesn't get documented.
Yep.
But I know, we see it, and we see the intensity of what they train.
Yep.
It's so almost self-centered, but you have to be. It's a self-centered sport. It needs to be all about you. If you're one of those guys, I guess my advice to young guys growing up, you've got to be able to, and it's not like, you got to wake up at 4 every morning and play in the rain. No, not necessarily. You'll get sick. But
1 a.m.
Yeah,
golf.
I mean that's
Thanks,
just
Tiger.
that's a professional. That's I mean one of the greatest athletes of all time doing what he needs to do to get 1% on the field. So if that means one day he's acclimatized to the time change more than the field. We're talking golf scoring terms to the field. In his mind, he's already winning.
Yep.
And that's the Tiger we love. If he's leading after 54 holes on a Sunday, in his mind, I can't be chased here.
Yep.
Or if I'm close, I'm going to chase you down. And that's that hunger that right back to the start of this. And you're asking about what was the difference between, say, me who played some tour events and that kind of thing compared to those guys is I think I'm almost too nice. Like, it's okay if I finish top 20. Yeah, it's good. Just give up now. Like you're just wasting your time. So Tiger is probably the benchmark for that kind of thing.
I love how passionate is.
Yeah, it's great.
You can tell. But you can tell how passionate you are about your golf.
The development is really exciting.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And
we could sit here and listen to you for hours and hours because you are very passionate about it. For our listeners, Scratch Golf Society,
and also
get on Instagram,
Scratch Golf Society, and
us a like.
and I think you play yourself down a little bit. I remember doing a first half an hour session with you, and now I didn't practice, but
come on,
but a few holes in my game, like half an hour and a few drills and some things that you stick in your mind when you're going out and playing on the course, just stick with you. So you play yourself down as obviously you got to stick with it and be smart about it and practice and do things, but the ability to be able to just turn and see someone and fix some errors really simply in your mind, complex in mine, is awesome. So I recommend it.
Thank you, boys.
We had two lessons. I haven't played golf the last 4 months because I haven't been able to. 2 lessons, got from a 15 to a 9 handicap. So he's a very good coach out there.
Did you hear that on all our listeners? David's off 9 if he tries to bait you with any.
Well, remember you said that? You're playing off about 11, but 9 GA. 9 GA, yeah. Hey, it's single figures. I'm going with it, all right? Yeah. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks,
Smitty.
mate.
What did you take out of that? Just off that practice? Is that what you took out of that?
Practice, yeah. So we'll get to the range, but I'm not going to whack them too hard at the range. But I might have to come back in and have another lesson. I reckon
Absolutely.
That's going to be the biggest goal
there
right
to
now.
help out all the viewers and you boys, of course, I'll look after. So as I said, very passionate about what the future holds for myself and Scratch, and very
Get on
excited to
board.
get the next bunch of juniors up there.
Give him a follow. Give him a message.
And get those rashes checked wherever you
Definitely.
can.
It was on the arm. I think I grazed a Christian poison ivy out there or something.
Oh, is that what it was?
Up the waist.
Lovely.
Being in the trees all day, get that slice.
Oh, thanks,
Thank you, mate.
Good on you, boys.
Awesome, mate. That was great with Brandon there.
We see him a fair bit, but speaking about golf, you realise how bloody good he is at what he does.
Definitely. And you saw how passionate he was, or heard how passionate he was, listeners. So if you do want to have a lesson from Brandon, he does work out of, I think you said, Heritage and Freeway Golf in Bulleen. Now, if you find him on Instagram at scratch_golf_society, hit him up, get involved, and get a lesson. And as you saw, he will change your game.
Yep.
That's
Awesome.
it. So,
Well, thanks for another ep, Dave. It's good to see you. Get around it, guys. We've got another one dropping next week. And if you're loving it, please give us a little bit of a review or a rating. We've got a few ratings coming in at the moment.
think
which
about
has been
12
really nice.
5-star reviews.
I know, it's nice of people, isn't it? I'm glad they're liking it. If you're not liking it, tell us why.
Only give us a 5-star review, and then leave a only give us a 5-star rating, and then leave a review if you don't like it.
Okay.
But don't leave a 1-star rating.
Yeah,
Otherwise
you'll
we
be
drop.
our con next week.
Exactly, and then we drop too far. So give us a rating. Thank you again, mate.
Thanks, mate. Good to see you. We'll see you guys next week.
Have a good week, guys.